Prehistoric Texas was home to titans that dwarfed modern wildlife. These colossal creatures dominated the landscape, their massive forms shaping the ancient Texan ecosystem. Among the most impressive was the Columbian mammoth, a behemoth that roamed the plains and forests of Texas during the Pleistocene epoch. Standing up to 14 feet tall at the shoulder and weighing up to 10 tons, the Columbian mammoth was significantly larger than its more famous cousin, the woolly mammoth. Unlike its northern relative, the Columbian mammoth was adapted to warmer climates, sporting a thinner coat of hair. Its enormous tusks, curving up to 16 feet in length, were formidable weapons and tools for foraging. These mammoths were not solitary giants. They lived in matriarchal herds, much like modern elephants, and their presence shaped the Texan landscape. Their constant grazing and browsing maintained open grasslands and influenced the distribution of plant species across the region. Another titan of ancient Texas was the giant ground sloth. These bizarre creatures were a far cry from their modern tree-dwelling relatives. The Eremitherium, one of the largest species found in Texas, could reach lengths of up to 20 feet and weigh an astounding 3 to 5 tons. Despite their intimidating size, giant ground sloths were primarily herbivores. Their powerful claws, which could reach lengths of over a foot, were used for digging up roots and pulling down branches. These creatures had a unique ability to rear up on their hind legs, using their massive tails for balance, allowing them to reach vegetation high in the treetops. The diet of these ancient sloths was diverse, including leaves, fruits, and even some tougher plant materials. Their large, peg-like teeth were perfectly adapted for grinding this varied vegetation. Evidence suggests that these sloths may have also occasionally scavenged meat, adding another layer of complexity to the prehistoric Texan food web. Comparing these ancient behemoths to modern Texas wildlife highlights the dramatic changes in the state's ecosystem over millions of years. Today, the largest land mammal in Texas is the American bison, which, while impressive, typically weighs less than a ton, a fraction of the size of its prehistoric counterparts. The stark contrast in size between ancient and modern Texas fauna reflects significant changes in climate, vegetation, and available resources. The lush, diverse landscapes of prehistoric Texas supported these massive creatures, providing abundant food and varied habitats. These ancient giants also played crucial roles in their ecosystems. Much like modern elephants in African savannas, mammoths and giant ground sloths were ecosystem engineers, shaping the landscape through their feeding habits and movements. They created pathways through dense vegetation, dispersed seeds, and maintained open areas that benefited other species. The presence of such enormous herbivores naturally attracted formidable predators. While these plant eaters were far from defenseless, their size and abundance made them prime targets for the apex predators of prehistoric Texas. The constant struggle between these titans and their hunters formed the backdrop of an epic evolutionary arms race. While the ancient Texan landscape was dominated by enormous herbivores, it was also home to formidable predators that struck fear into even the mightiest of prey. These prehistoric hunters were perfectly adapted to their environment, with physical characteristics and hunting strategies that made them apex predators in their ecosystems. One of the most iconic predators of prehistoric Texas was the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon fatalis. This fearsome feline, weighing up to 880 pounds, was characterized by its massive canine teeth, which could grow up to 11 inches long. Unlike modern big cats, Smilodon had a relatively short tail and powerfully built forequarters, suggesting a unique hunting style. Smilodon's hunting technique was likely a combination of ambush and wrestling. Its powerful forelimbs allowed it to grapple with large prey, while its elongated canines were used to deliver a killing bite to the throat or belly. These specialized teeth were incredibly effective but also fragile, leading some paleontologists to theorize that Smilodon may have hunted in groups to minimize the risk of injury. Another apex predator that roamed prehistoric Texas was the American lion, Panthera atrox. This massive cat was one of the largest felines ever to exist, potentially reaching lengths of up to 11.5 feet and weighing up to 1,000 pounds. Despite its name, the American lion was more closely related to modern tigers than to African lions. The American lion likely hunted a wide variety of prey, from deer and horses to young mammoths and ground sloths. Its large size and powerful build suggests it was capable of taking down prey much larger than itself. Unlike modern lions, which are primarily savanna dwellers, the American lion inhabited a range of environments across North America, including the diverse landscapes of prehistoric Texas. Prehistoric Texas was also home to the dire wolf, Canis dirus. Often portrayed in popular culture as a supersized version of modern wolves, the dire wolf was actually similar in size to the largest modern gray wolves but had a more robust build. Weighing up to 150 pounds, dire wolves were pack hunters that likely specialized in taking down large prey. Direwolves had stronger jaws and teeth compared to modern wolves, suggesting they were adapted to crush bone and take down larger, more powerful prey. Their pack hunting behavior would have made them formidable opponents, even for the largest herbivores of prehistoric Texas. Fossil evidence suggests direwolves often suffered from broken teeth and jaw injuries, indicating the dangerous nature of their hunting lifestyle. These land-based predators were not the only terrors lurking in prehistoric Texas. The ancient seas and rivers that once covered parts of the state were home to equally fearsome aquatic predators. These marine hunters were just as impressive and deadly as their terrestrial counterparts, adding another layer of danger to the prehistoric Texan ecosystem. One such aquatic predator was Zephactinus, a massive predatory fish that could grow up to 20 feet long. Often called the bulldog fish due to its powerful jaws and sharp teeth, Zephactinus was the apex predator of its marine environment. Fossil evidence suggests it was capable of swallowing prey up to half its own length, making it one of the most voracious predators of its time. When we think of Texas today, we picture vast plains, rolling hills, and perhaps the Gulf Coast. But millions of years ago, the landscape was dramatically different. Much of prehistoric Texas was submerged beneath warm, shallow seas, teeming with life forms that would seem alien to us now. These ancient waters covered large portions of the state, creating inland seas and expansive lakes. The Western Interior Seaway, a massive body of water that split North America in two during the late Cretaceous period, lapped at the shores of what would become Texas. This aquatic environment supported a diverse ecosystem of marine life, from tiny plankton to massive predators that ruled the prehistoric oceans. As we mentioned earlier, one of the most fearsome inhabitants of these ancient Texas waters was Zephactinus, a predatory fish that would dwarf even the largest modern-day marlins. Growing up to 20 feet in length, Zephactinus was a true monster of the deep. Its body was sleek and streamlined, built for speed and power. But the most striking feature of this prehistoric fish was its massive fang-filled jaws. Zephactinus earned the nickname bulldog fish due to its pronounced underbite and razor-sharp teeth. These formidable jaws could open incredibly wide, allowing Zephactinus to swallow prey nearly half its own size. Fossil evidence suggests that this voracious predator sometimes bit off more than it could chew, quite literally. Paleontologists have discovered Zephactinus fossils with undigested prey still inside them, indicating that these fish occasionally died from their oversized meals. But Zephactinus wasn't the only terror lurking in the prehistoric Texas seas. Mosasaurs, giant marine reptiles distantly related to modern monitor lizards, also called these waters home. These apex predators could grow up to 50 feet long and were the undisputed rulers of the late Cretaceous oceans. Mosasaurs had long, streamlined bodies with powerful flippers and a strong tail for propulsion. Their jaws were lined with sharp, conical teeth, perfect for grasping slippery prey. But what made mosasaurs truly terrifying was an additional row of teeth on the roof of their mouths. This adaptation ensured that any prey caught in the mosasaur's grip had little chance of escape. These marine reptiles were incredibly diverse, with different species specializing in various types of prey. Some mosasaurs had crushing teeth adapted for cracking open the shells of ammonites and other mollusks. Others had needle-like teeth perfect for snagging fish. The largest mosasaurs were apex predators, capable of taking on any creature in their environment, including other mosasaurs. Mosasaurs weren't just limited to the open ocean. Fossil evidence shows that some species frequented the cooler, murkier waters near the coast. This means that prehistoric Texans venturing too close to the shore might have encountered these fearsome predators in relatively shallow waters. The reign of these aquatic giants came to an end with the mass extinction event at the close of the Cretaceous period, about 66 million years ago. This catastrophic event, likely caused by an asteroid impact, wiped out not only the dinosaurs but also many marine reptiles and fish, including mosasaurs and Zephactinus. The prehistoric Texas we've explored was a battleground of incredible diversity and epic proportions, but this world was destined for dramatic change. Around 11,700 years ago, as the Pleistocene epoch drew to a close, a great extinction event began to reshape the Texan landscape and its inhabitants. This mass extinction, known as the Quaternary Extinction Event, saw the disappearance of many of the large animals or megafauna that had dominated the region for millions of years. The Columbian mammoths, dire wolves, saber-toothed cats, and giant ground sloths that once roamed Texas vanished, leaving only fossils as testament to their existence. Several factors contributed to this cataclysmic event. Chief among them was significant climate change. As the Ice Age ended, temperatures rose rapidly, transforming ecosystems across North America. In Texas, this meant a shift from cool, moist conditions to a warmer, drier climate more similar to what we see today. This climatic upheaval had far-reaching consequences. The The lush grasslands and forests that supported the megafauna began to recede. Plants that had thrived in the cooler climate struggled to adapt, leading to changes in vegetation patterns across the state. As their food sources dwindled or disappeared, many of the large herbivores found it increasingly difficult to sustain their massive bodies. The changing landscape also affected the predators. As their prey became scarcer, competition for resources intensified. Species that couldn't adapt quickly enough found themselves facing extinction. The interconnected nature of the ecosystem meant that the loss of one species could have cascading effects on others. Interestingly, not all areas of Texas were affected equally. The Edwards Plateau, a region in central Texas, served as a refuge for some species during this turbulent time. Its unique geography and water resources allowed it to maintain a more stable environment, providing a last holdout for some of the megafauna. Another significant factor in this extinction event was the arrival of humans in North America. The first humans are believed to have reached Texas around 15,000 years ago, towards the end of the last ice age. These early Texans were skilled hunters, armed with advanced tools and hunting strategies. The impact of human arrival on the megafauna is a topic of ongoing debate among scientists. Some argue that human hunting pressure, combined with the stress of climate change, pushed many species over the edge. Others contend that the role of human hunters has been overstated, pointing to evidence of coexistence between humans and megafauna in some areas. Regardless of the exact cause, the consequences of this extinction event were profound. Over a relatively short period, geologically speaking, Texas lost around 80% of its large mammal species. This mass extinction reshaped the entire ecosystem, creating openings for smaller, more adaptable species to thrive. As the large grazers disappeared, the landscape itself began to change. Without mammoths and giant ground sloths to keep them in check, certain plant species could spread more freely. The loss of these ecosystem engineers had long-lasting effects on Texas's flora, influencing the distribution and abundance of various plant species. The extinction of the megafauna also had ripple effects on smaller species. Scavengers and decomposers that relied on the remains of large animals had to adapt or perish. Even the spread of certain plants was affected, as some species relied on large herbivores for seed dispersal. This great extinction event marked the end of an era for Texas. The Pleistocene megafauna, which had dominated the landscape for millions of years, vanished in what was, geologically speaking, the blink of an eye. In their place, a new ecosystem emerged, one that would eventually give rise to the Texas we know today. While the megafauna of prehistoric Texas are long gone, their legacy lives on in the modern ecosystem. The ecological niches once filled by mammoths and giant sloths are now occupied by smaller, more adaptable species. The American bison, though diminished in number, still roams parts of Texas, echoing its larger Ice Age ancestors. The modern mountain lion, while not as formidable as the saber-toothed cat, fills a similar role as an apex predator. The transient nature of ecosystems is evident in the ever-changing landscape of Texas. Species come and go, adapting to new challenges or fading into extinction. This constant flux reminds us of the precious and precarious balance of nature.